It was supposed to be just another segment on Live with Kelly and Mark, but what unfolded left the studio buzzing, the internet ablaze, and Meghan Markle, once the royal darling turned podcast hopeful, the target of searing public mockery. As Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos dove headfirst into dissecting Meghan's latest podcast episode, the tone quickly shifted from playful commentary to open disdain. Viewers weren't just entertained, they were stunned by how unapologetically the morning show hosts tore apart the Duchess's cringe-worthy attempt at yet another audio revival. Meghan, according to sources close to her circle, was left absolutely seething. What Kelly and Mark laid bare wasn't new, it was what many had been whispering for months. Meghan's podcast, intended to position her as a thoughtful cultural commentator, has instead morphed into a painfully self-indulgent monologue, often recycling superficial narratives under the guise of empowerment. Kelly, known for her sharp tongue and fearless honesty, didn't hold back. It's like listening to someone trying desperately to sound profound while saying absolutely nothing, she quipped, sending the audience into fits of laughter. Mark, rarely one to play the critic, chimed in with a surprisingly blunt take. I couldn't finish it. It felt more like a branding exercise than a conversation. Like she's selling herself as a product, not a person. The on-air takedown wasn't just entertainment, it was a bold declaration of what many in Hollywood and beyond are now starting to admit: the Meghan Markle media machine is sputtering. For a woman who once captivated the world with her fairy tale transformation from Hollywood actress to British royal, Meghan's fall from grace in the eyes of the public has been swift and dramatic. Her post-royal ventures, while heavily marketed and branded with buzzwords like authenticity, truth, and healing, have often felt hollow. Critics argue that her content lacks depth and feels engineered, less about storytelling and more about image rehabilitation. And that's precisely where Kelly and Mark struck hardest. Their critique wasn't rooted in tabloid gossip or palace politics. It was about content, the real Meghan behind the mic. The Duchess's recent podcast episode, which was supposedly an intimate conversation about feminine resilience, devolved into a vague, jargon-heavy TED Talk where the host did most of the talking. Kelly pointed out the glaring irony. She invites guests, but somehow it always circles back to her. Is it a podcast or a therapy session? The public's reaction to Kelly and Mark's segment was overwhelmingly supportive. Social media exploded with clips of the takedown, many praising the duo for finally saying what others were too afraid to. They said what we've all been thinking, one viewer posted. Meghan's podcast is like a perfume commercial, glossy, vague, and smells like ego. Insiders from the entertainment industry have long hinted at growing fatigue with Meghan's constant rebranding efforts. After the dramatic fallout with the royal family, the infamous Oprah interview, the Netflix docuseries, and now a failed podcast revival, her pattern is starting to wear thin. Each endeavor seems to follow the same blueprint: start strong, overpromise, underdeliver, and then blame the media when the audience tunes out. What makes this moment particularly devastating for Meghan is who delivered the blow. Kelly Ripa is not a tabloid journalist. She's a seasoned talk show host with a reputation for speaking her mind and doing so with a smile. For her and Mark to publicly mock Meghan so openly signals a major shift. The gloves are off, and the mainstream media isn't afraid to poke holes in the carefully curated Markle narrative. Sources close to Meghan report that she was blindsided and furious. She reportedly felt humiliated and betrayed, especially since she had previously tried to foster good relationships with mainstream American media as a counterbalance to her negative UK press. But in the world of entertainment, content is king, and her content, according to many, simply isn't good enough to justify the hype anymore. More than a personal attack, Kelly and Mark's critique was a cultural pulse check. Audiences are growing weary of celebrities who present themselves as enlightened gurus without substance to back it up. Meghan Markle, despite her privileged platform and opportunities, seems unwilling or unable to connect in a way that feels real. Her voice, once fresh and bold, now sounds rehearsed and self-serving. In the end, Kelly and Mark didn't just wreck Meghan's podcast. They cracked open the veneer of her post-royal brand and let the world see that behind the sound bites and soft focus filters, there may not be much left to say. The fallout was immediate. Media analysts began dissecting not just the podcast, but the larger strategy behind Meghan's brand, and the verdict was damning. With every public endeavor, from Netflix deals to Spotify partnerships, there seems to be a recurring theme: strong packaging but weak substance. And now, thanks to Kelly and Mark's unsparing honesty, the public conversation has shifted. No longer is Meghan viewed solely as the misunderstood victim of royal rigidity. She's becoming the emblem of performative progressivism, more invested in optics than outcome. Industry insiders say even streaming executives are quietly backing away. There's only so many times you can sell a narrative that no longer lands, said one senior producer. When daytime talk shows start laughing instead of listening, it's a clear sign the audience has moved on. Meghan's frustration, reportedly expressed in private circles, reflects a deeper fear that her influence is slipping. The carefully curated image, the perfectly worded statements, and the relentless pursuit of relevance can't mask what Kelly and Mark exposed with just a few unscripted minutes: the truth. And in today's media landscape where authenticity reigns, that truth is increasingly hard to fake.